The spread. How it moved across a continent. To understand how the Black Death spread the way it did, how it moved from Sicily to the Arctic Circle in less than 6 years, you have to understand the world it moved through. The Europe of 1347 was, by the standards of its own time, a connected place. The medieval trade routes were not highways in the modern sense, but they were constant, busy, and remarkably far-reaching. Wool from England went to Florence, grain from Poland went to Venice, silk from China came through Constantinople and Genoa, spices from India and Southeast Asia arrived by ship from Alexandria. Every bale of goods that moved along these routes was accompanied by rats. And every rat carried fleas. This was not a secret or a mystery at the time. Rats were simply a fact of medieval life. They were in every granary, every ship's hold, every inn, every monastery, every palace. The idea that rats could be controlled or eliminated simply did not exist. They were as inevitable as weather. The plague moved in 3 forms, and this is important because most people think of the Black Death as a single disease. It was not. The first form was bubonic plague, the most common and the one most people know. You were bitten by an infected flea. The bacteria entered your bloodstream. Within 2 to 6 days, the lymph nodes, which were trying desperately to fight the infection, swelled into the characteristic buboes. Those grotesque egg-shaped lumps in the groin, armpits, and neck. The fever came. The skin blackened and dyed in patches. The pain was described by survivors as like being burned alive from the inside. The mortality rate for untreated bubonic plague, 60%. The second form was septicemic plague, where the bacteria entered the bloodstream directly and multiplied so fast the body had no time to form buboes at all. You simply went from healthy to dead in hours. Your blood blackened and clotted. You hemorrhaged. There were no symptoms to warn you or the people around you. The mortality rate for septicemic plague, nearly 100%. The third form was pneumonic plague, the most terrifying of all. When the bacteria reached the lungs, it became airborne. A single cough from an infected person could transmit it to everyone in the room. You didn't need a flea. You didn't need a rat. You needed only to breathe the same air as someone who was dying. The mortality rate for pneumonic plague, 100%. Every person infected with any form had perhaps a week, often less. By the spring of 1348, the plague was in France. It entered through Marseille, the same way it had entered Sicily, through the ships, through the harbor, through the rats. The port of Marseille tried to enforce quarantine measures. They were too late, too inconsistent, too poorly understood. Paris fell in the summer of 1348. In a city of perhaps 200,000 people, the largest city in Europe, contemporary sources report 800 deaths per day at the plague's peak. England was reached in the summer of 1348 through the port of Weymouth on the southern coast in June. By autumn, it had reached London. By 1349, it was in Ireland, Wales, Scotland. The English chronicler Henry Knighton wrote, "In this year and in the following one there was a general mortality of men throughout the whole world." He was not wrong. In some places, the death rates were even higher than the continental average. Certain monasteries and convents, where people lived in close quarters, shared meals, shared prayer, shared everything, lost 90% of their members. Some simply ceased to exist. The monks died and there was no one left to ring the bells or say the prayers or record what had happened. In the village of Weymouth in England, which would later become famous for voluntarily quarantining itself during a second outbreak in 1665, entire families were wiped out in days. Their names are still recorded on the gravestones. By 1350, the plague had reached Scandinavia. By 1351, Russia. It moved along every road, every river, every coastline that medieval commerce had built. The very connections that had made medieval Europe prosperous, the trade routes, the shipping lanes, the pilgrim roads, became the highways along which death traveled. There was nowhere to run. People tried. They fled cities for the countryside. The plague followed. They fled to isolated monasteries. The plague followed. Some sealed themselves in their houses and refused to open the door to anyone. Sometimes it worked. More often, the fleas were already inside with them, on the rats that lived in the walls under the floors. The plague did not distinguish between the powerful and the powerless. It killed serfs and noblemen. It killed merchants and bishops. It killed 3 of King Edward III of England's children. It killed the Archbishop of Canterbury. It killed the Empress of the Holy Roman Empire. Alfonso XI of Castile, one of the only European monarchs to die of plague, was besieging the city of Gibraltar when the pestilence reached his camp. Even kings. And through all of it, through the years of dying and fleeing and mass burial, the people of Europe asked the question that would not leave them alone. Why? Why is God doing this? What have we done? The answer they found, and the answer they were given, would change the course of history.